How you doing? I'm Kyle Stewart, and I'm a user researcher at Cengage Learning. And you have disabled users that are using your products. I want to talk to you a little bit about them, try and build a little empathy. Can I get a microphone? Sorry. What about all the thumbs up? So we have colorblind users, like our former president Bill Clinton. Colorblindness, mostly male, mostly red-green colorblindness, which has the side effect of making some of your beautiful designs look like brown on slightly lighter brown. How can we help the colorblind? Run our designs through just colorblindness simulators before we put them out to market. We can also look at our color palettes, make sure we meet some basic contrast standards before we put them out. We can also do color blindness modes, things like this game. Flip a button, all of a sudden red bars turn to blue, red gradient turns to red pattern, in a way that someone with the red-green color blindness disorder could tell. You have a ton of users that have a variety of vision disorders. Dame Judi Dench with macular degeneration. And this is by far the biggest proportion of your disabled users. As we get older, our vision gets worse and worse almost uniformly. And we have a lot of problems reading a lot of the stuff that's on the web. So what can we do? Well, we're going to want to blow up the text. So use true text instead of texting graphics, because it looks like a pixelated mess when you use text image. And don't use fonts that are smaller than 12 point unless you don't want people to actually read them, terms and conditions and such. We also have blind users like former governor of New York, David Patterson. They've gotten a huge amount of autonomy since the advent of computing and the internet that just wasn't possible before, if our solutions work with their technology. So what can we do for them? We can make sure that we use logical heading structures. If you're using heading structures just to style things, you're doing it wrong. The majority of users with screen readers are navigating via heading structure. So we should make some sense to them. And then using labels that don't make any sense without context. Read more. Read more what? How about read more The Hunt for Life Beyond Earth? It doesn't have to live up front. It can be in the back end and only visible to a screen reader. So you also have users that have disability with muscle. You have tremors, muscle weakness, dexterity issues, like Michael J. Fox and Parkinson's. And they often have trouble using a mouse. So you have keyboard as the primary way of interacting with computers and the internet. You also have the extreme versions of this, paralysis, where your primary way of interacting with computers may actually be through speech to text. I like to ask the developers if our products could be used by Stephen Hawking. So how can we help with this? So eliminate unnecessary clicks in common workflows. Make sure that your click objects are well sized and grouped together. And again, I can't stress enough, logical header structure. Anyone that uses keyboard only, this is a huge deal for them. With learning disabilities, things like dyslexia, where your poorly formatted paragraph can just turn into a jumble of words. It didn't hold back Steve Jobs, but you may have users that are struggling with the way you formatted your text. And you have a wide variety of individuals with attention deficit disorders, people like Richard Branson, people like myself who are approached with a really busy interface and are just sort of immediately overwhelmed and want to move on to something else. So what can we do for these individuals? We can avoid large blocks of uninterrupted text. All of your users will thank you for that. You can use everyday language. You can avoid jargon that jolts someone out of their experience. And you can use sans serif text for easier readability. It's a big deal for the dyslexics. We have some cool tools, things like ARIA, which is basically an HTML attribute that lets you lay out for a screen reader what a page does. The landmarks give some form to the page, and the states tell objects how to behave. So if you were to look on the right, this is actually a list of landmarks generated by a screen reader. So this is how someone who is blind is going to perceive your page. It's actually crawling for the ARIA landmarks and building out, okay, navigation, search, here are all these things. That is how they're going to get around. How can you put this in your products? Well, it's pretty easy actually. You put role attributes in, so search, navigation, main, and that's going to form that list for them. It's their method, besides the headings, of going through. Don't go too overboard. Nobody likes a chatty screen reader. And so the user on that list before navigates to search. They're going to go right to the search box instead of having to scroll through your page. And it's going to solve a lot of problems for you, things that you don't necessarily have to worry about. But there's no amount of tools like WebAIM and ARIA that can substitute for having some empathy for your user. And the first step is realizing that you no longer want to be a barrier for disabled users in your product. the first step is admitting that you have an accessibility problem.